It's not unusual for a book to stay at the top of the charts for a few weeks or months even. I wrote 5 books that have been at the top of the charts for 3,500 years. With that kind of fame, you might be surprised that my one-line resume was, Moses was the most humble man who ever lived.
The Old Testament intricately weaves the experiences of the ancient Hebrew people to reveal profound insights into the heart and desires of God. Within its pages, a rich tapestry of divine revelation awaits discovery.
The Pentateuch, the title of my chart-topping 5-book collection. It was part of a larger work, the Hebrew Bible. It's been around a long time, the Hebrew Bible. It's about my people. It's guided my people. It's the hope of my people. The term Old Testament outs you as a Gentile, a non-Jew, maybe a Christian even. Christianity has additional compiled sacred writings added to the older writings, aptly titled New Testament. But make no mistake, old in this case is only a reference to time frame, not outdated, or irrelevant, or unimportant, concealed, awaiting discovery. That's the Old and Old Testament. The ancient Hebrew Bible, called the Tanakh, was compiled and preserved as the sacred books of the Jewish people by roughly 200 BC. It was written over roughly 10 centuries. That's a long time, from about 1500 BC to 430 BC. There were more than 25 writers, all Middle Eastern, written in the Hebrew language, of course. The Tanakh, Old Testament, is about God and his people, Abraham and his descendants, Hebrews, Israelites, or Jews. It's controversial, not so much in the BC days or even the first 1900 years AD, but in your time? The first few pages tell the epic story of God creating everything. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden with God. Noah and his ark. The Tower of Babel. Strictly literal? Strictly symbolic or figurative? Combination of the two. Sidetracked by this? We weren't. Next comes the patriarchs, the 12 tribes of Israel enslaved in Egypt, the Exodus, the covenant, an agreement that is the basis for all the laws given to the Israelites by God, the Promised Land, and the cycles of following God, not following God, disciplined by God, returning to God, times of the kings, the prophets, the exile, return, and rebuild. The Old Testament ends shortly after the Israelites return with a renewed relationship with God. Wow. I covered the entire Old Testament in one paragraph. Then why is it so long, you're thinking? And boring? Well, I know that crossed your mind. The desert seems boring. I spent 40 years there, I should know. The secret to finding anything, you have to dig. Water, for instance. And you have to be observant. You don't want to miss, say, a bush that's on fire but not burning up. You should know from the start that the books of the Old Testament are not in chronological order. Instead, they're arranged in several groups. The Pentateuch, books of the law, or Torah, is the first group. The next 12 books tell the history of the Hebrews. The following books are wisdom and poetry. There are 5 of those. The last group is composed of 17 books of the prophets. So that covers the bricks and mortar, so to speak. Now let's move inside. These ancient texts offer a glimpse into the history and traditions of the Jewish people. Sometimes difficult to understand for you. They reveal a rich tapestry of cultural and religious practices that have fascinated, captivated generations. Powerful narratives, poetry, prophecies. It uses literary tools that hint at larger themes and meaning. Literary devices such as symbolism, metaphor, and allegory. These offer clues that hint at deeper meanings of this ancient text. The Old Testament is a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Who doesn't love a good mystery? The Old Testament is shrouded in it. Modern readers are usually left with all kinds of questions. If that's you, you're in good company. These questions have puzzled scholars for centuries. It's impossible to know for certain who wrote the Torah. A lot of people throw my name into the hat. Thank you. I was definitely there and definitely qualified. Some scholars believe that it's a product of a long and complex literary tradition that developed over many generations. The question of authorship adds to the mystery. I won't spoil it. The Old Testament represents a spiritual journey, a journey that I was an eyewitness to for many years. The insights and revelations don't even begin to cover what's contained in these writings. But behind what most people think they know from Bible stories in the Old Testament, there is another, dare I say it, a darker side to the Old Testament. Darker in that it often challenges our understanding of humanity and the divine. Have you read my life story? And I'm referring to the complete story in the Bible, not the Sunday school version or the Hollywood version. There are many reasons why people have explored these pages for centuries and centuries. Historical significance. It's fascinating insight into the cultural and religious practices of one of the world's oldest civilizations. There's amazing literary value. The Old Testament contains some of the most compelling and powerful stories in the history of literature, captivating readers and scholars to this day. And for many people, I'm talking billions, the Old Testament represents the foundation of their faith. Its teachings and stories are central to Judaism and Christianity. It has shaped the beliefs and practices of those billions of people over millennia. Finally, the Old Testament is full of complex ethical and moral dilemmas. Ask me how I know. These still resonate with modern readers, exploring issues such as justice, mercy, forgiveness, the nature of humanity. It inspires readers to consider their own values and beliefs in response. Compelling, enduring, timeless, just like its author, God, who inspired it. 5 centuries after the Old Testament, way after my time, there's finally a realization that the Old Testament is a mystery story, a mystery nobody had the capability to see. God kept it hidden until he revealed it in what starts out as a very sad story. Jesus had died. 2 of his followers left Jerusalem devastated. They were so sure he was the one, the awaited Messiah. As they journeyed home, a 3rd man joined them. A man who was about to out the entire Old Testament as the mystery it was. Listen to the words from the New Testament in the book of Acts. And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. The scriptures. The Old Testament was about Jesus. The aha moment of all aha moments. Everything they knew as Old Testament Jews fell into place. Everything their entire society was built upon. They were shocked. How did they never see it before? It was right there, all along. Right there in front of them. How most mysteries play out. Everything right there, but somehow hidden. Awe and wonder. That's what we're left with when we dive into the mysteries that lie within those writings. The mystery that's been at the top of the charts for all these years.